We have a diverse group of faculty and staff bringing a lot of different elements to this campus and to this region. We're going to be talking to students, we're going to be talking to alumni and also current faculty and staff to see the changes that have occurred over many, many years at Southeast.
Okay, I'm very interested in your schooling first. We'll start from the beginning, I guess.
Oh my God, I don't think I can think back that far. SEMO University was a very different place then than it is now. I can just kind of go back to my first day in school, and I can tell you I was scared to death. Number one, I was doing something that had never been done before, and when I first started my nurses training at SEMO, they tell me I was the first African-American person to be there. Wasn't really sure how I was going to be accepted and exactly what the challenges would be and that sort of thing. But I have to say that even though it was in a period of time when the country was kind of in an uproar still, I found the instructors at the university to be very helpful and very caring. But I tell you what, it was different for some of my patients because I can remember being asked many times, "Do you know what you're doing?" And it used to really offend me. Oh my God, it would just offend me to no end. Of course, I'd never let them know that. But it made me make sure I knew what I was doing at the time I was doing, so I could tell them what I was going to do and why I was going to do it, and and that sort of thing. But
I was curious how it was going to go, like the first type clinical days. I was never worried about the school side of things. I'm like, these are professional teachers. It's never gonna, and there's plenty of males that have come before me. It was more of a old-fashioned thing that they didn't want a male nurse, and I was like, I'm okay with that because I'm as old-fashioned as they come, so that doesn't bother me at all. And even there, it was never one of those, oh, you're male, you can't be in here at all. There's just certain things that they didn't want. Like I said, I'm perfectly okay with that.
I think it's great here. We have so many professors and faculty members really willing to say, hey, we care about you so much more than just on an academic level, so much more than just on an extracurricular level. We care about your personal wellness. And if things aren't going well, we will take time out of our day to sit down and talk with you.
I really think it's a very unique environment that we have here. And I'm not with this attempting to suggest that everything absolutely is perfect. That's not at all what I'm saying. Because I think that an institution excels when it has the kind of environment that allows people to share different perspectives, to debate them. An institution where you find differences and disagreements and you work them out, I think is a very healthy institution. We don't know, for example, what kind of environment our students are coming from. They all come from very different environments, and including, of course, even international students that are here with us. And so when they come here, a challenge for us is how do we contribute to that conversation when you have so many different perspectives?
Very few students who go to high school in Sri Lanka get to go to the universities because the government doesn't have much facility to facilitate that many students at once. So back then, students didn't have many facilities to pursue their higher education. So they went abroad and then did their higher education. That I'm here, result of that. How did you come to Cape?
I am from a very small town, so coming to Cape Girardeau was coming to the big city to do our shopping, to do things like that. So, as you might imagine, being from a small town, we did not have a lot of diversity. And so coming to Southeast opened up my eyes to just different worlds. Of course, I had heard about places, in high school and in that kind of thing. But when you meet people from areas you've only read about, that can completely open your eyes to a new perspective, and then learn about them and their family, their religion, because sometimes we tend to think that ours is the only one that exists because it's all around us.
My mom has always kept me in a bubble. She still says, I'm 22, she still says that I have no idea how I was sent to the United States, so far away. And I did have a couple of friends who came from Dubai, who came from other little bit conservative countries, and they had a really hard time accepting how the cultural norms were here. And it was truly interesting to see what was the reason behind me being so outspoken, and what was the reason behind them being so shy about the fact. Was I was more open to people. I had an open mindset to welcome people into them, and whereas they were scared, to be honest.
Thinking back on my experiences, that when I was recruited to come to Southeast, this was the only school that recruited me that mentioned a degree. And that was unbelievable for me, coming out of Webster Groves, that I'm 18 years old and I'm trying to graduate yet from this man's talking to me about a degree, and I'm saying, hey, I haven't graduated from high school yet. You're going to, and that basically sold me on coming to Southeast Missouri State. Any of the coaches talk to you about your future, or how did they do that?
When I first got here, the first thing Coach Took told the team was, there's life after football.
Okay.
It's school first, get your degree, football can wait.
When I came here, I'm sure the coaches brought the football team together and said, hey, we got some black guys coming here and we're going to integrate. And I knew, and I'm sure there were some guys that weren't receptive to it and all. But, and when you get in a situation where you're with a large group of men, women, everyone, there are going to be some people that like you for who you are. There are going to be some people that like you for your looks, and then there are going to be some people that don't like you for the color of your skin, and then some people don't like you the way your hair is parted. So when I decided to go to Southeast Missouri State, my parents' first thing they said is that you're responsible for being the best football player you can be, and being the best person you can be.
My mom always emphasized the point, I didn't get to go to a career or learn anything, and I want you to have that because I know it will give you a better living. So she promoted while I was growing up, I'm saving up for you to go to school. I'm not just saving it in vain, so you're gonna go to school. So not only because my mom pushed me towards that direction, but I wanted to do it, just to expand my boundaries of knowledge, because no one can take that away from you at the end of the day. It's right with you for life. Yeah. How about you?
I don't even really honestly know. Nobody in my house had even graduated from high school or gone to college, so I just wanted more. I wanted more, and I wanted to be able to have a career where I could work a day shift and have the weekends and evenings with my kids, and I knew that I was going to have to get some education to do that. And then when I picked accounting and went for it, boy, those were some hard years. I was actually a non-traditional student, so I had a young son when I went to school, and I missed out on a lot of the traditional aspects of college, but
it's an investment.
Can't imagine how worth it is. It is. I have so many more opportunities. I have such a wonderful life. I have changed my family tree because I decided to go for it and work hard and stay in it when I didn't want to. The hours of homework and everything you have, especially in the last couple of years, they're so hard, and you think that that's going to last forever.
You have to self-empower yourself is what I've come to realize, because no one is out there cheering you on. If you don't cheer yourself on first, then how other people are going to cheer you on?
The dividends of you sticking with it and going through this now are going to pay more than anything else. The rest of your life, you're going to say, man, I really did this against all the odds. I didn't have anybody to lead me, to know exactly what to do in college. but you did it and you're doing it, and you will never regret this decision.
Back in the late 60s, early 70s, you had virtually no tolerance in the community at large. And there was not so much of this self-awareness as far as activism, as far as confronting people for their homophobia. You would just avoid it. And there's been a huge shift just in the last, I would say, 5 or 10 years to where, I think the thing that finally made people realize that we're just people was gay marriage, which really did help a tremendous amount. On the part of a lot of people starting to confront the issue. Yes, speak up, take the fore, and acknowledge that we're just folks, just like anybody else.
Exactly. I'm a senior. I'm graduating in May.
Okay.
As a freshman, I came out, I came out before I came to Southeast, but I came out as gay, and then just kind of discovering my gender and who I was. Like, I just came out as trans about maybe 7 months ago, so it's a pretty
turbulent time.
Yeah, it's still, and I'm still discovering things, every single day, but but it's a journey. And so now you're out and married?
I'm married. I'm actually legally married. I got married as soon as I could in the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois started out with, they didn't call it marriage, they called it
civil union.
Civil union.
Yeah.
Yes, and I would tell people I've been unionized.
For the longest time, I just tried to live in the expectations of what people had of me, and it just, eventually when I got to college, I cut my hair and I started experimenting with clothes, and I was like, I felt a freedom that I didn't even know existed, and that was amazing feeling. So it was just.
And universities play an important part in everybody's life in moving from a very controlled environment, whether you know it or not, whether you believe it or not. It is a very controlled environment with your family. Very hard to break out of that box. And when you come to a university, it's a place to grow up.
I did some homework in advance of talking with you when I was invited to be here as somebody who represents the way the college community was in the 1970s, and you're the 21st century guy, and I'm the old person. I pulled out an old yearbook. We used to have, did they have a yearbook where you went to high school?
Yeah.
Okay, we used to have one here at Southeast. I looked for diversity on campus in the early 1970s. I did not find it. It could be that the African American students and the yearbook students just simply never crossed paths very much. But there was almost no presence of people of color anywhere in the yearbook, which I didn't remember from my years here, because if you're the majority, you don't notice that you're the majority. But I saw, when I went looking for inclusion of people who weren't Caucasian, it wasn't happening.
We were not very diverse. We really were not. We had a very small black population, and the international students were few and far between. We were one of the first generations to really have birth control and quote-unquote freedom, and we had love and peace and all of that sort of thing going on. But women were still not treated the same as men. And after I got out of college, I was part of a group of women who looked at our university and said, you know what, I don't think we've ever had a woman on the Board of Regents. So a very small group of women here in Cape Girardeau got together and we worked together. We identified a key candidate and put that person forward, and she then was selected to be on the Board of Regents.
I would still say that it's still a long way to go, because like even now that women are expected to be, oh, you're going to be married by like, you know, the age of 26, and you know, you have to have your family settled and everything. And even sometimes my family joke with me that too, and I'm like, no.
I oftentimes don't think about how different the backgrounds that each one of us has. You know, so I come from one particular background, and you come from another, and 12,000 students here. You know, everyone comes essentially from a different background. So, what experiences have they had that may limit their ability or their willingness to share and to change their views and their perspectives? And I have been in a number of situations where I personally have been called names, for example, and but I by no means feel that I have been in a very bad situation. And there may be other students that actually have been involved in a very difficult kind of environment. How do we help them sort of come along and be open to sharing their views, sharing their experiences, and then start the process of really perhaps healing in some way?
When it came to like football, how did your teammates view you when you first got there?
Well, it's an interesting story is that I didn't realize that there were no black football players on the team when I came here in '65. I never saw the football players. I never questioned it, never really thought about it, you know, until I got here in August. And there was another kid named Michael Smith from East St. Louis, Illinois, a black gentleman. He was recruited also. So I'll never forget, I saw Michael coming across the field. I say, oh, there's one of the black football players here. So anyway, I went up to Michael and I said, I introduced myself, he introduced him, you know, talked to me, and I said, well, where are the other ball players? And he looked at me and he says, I think we're it, you know. And so from there on, you know, it was great for me because of the young men that I met down here. Michael Smith and I roomed together maybe a semester, but after that, I always had a white roommate. It's interesting that when we went on the road, my freshman year, Coach Knox just had the keys in the pot, drew the keys out, and said, here's your roommate. So the coaches did a great job of integrating. In 1969, Texas and Arkansas played for the national championship after I was graduating, and there was not a black ball player on either one of those teams. And I said, wow, Southeast Missouri State is ahead of their time.
When you came here, were you surprised that it was a mostly white campus?
Not really. What I was surprised was the amount of international students that are here. Mm-hmm. And that's mostly who I surround myself with. And I love that because it gets me out of my usual element. Yeah. And you kind of get like a good understanding of everybody's going through the same thing when they are here, mm-hmm. you know, and they're getting their education and they're trying to figure out what do they want to do with their future, what do they want to do right now. Just be open, expand your mind, talk to these people. You'll learn so much. I'm living with two people from Brazil right now, and they're teaching me Portuguese. I didn't think I'd be learning Portuguese. It's fun. And I get to learn more about their culture, and they have me to the point where I want to go to Brazil.
I did not have any harrowing experiences with people doing anything to me or anything like that. So it was very uneventful.
I can't imagine being like not tolerated because Southeast has, I don't know, just given me a reason to be myself and has really supported me like I can't even explain.
This is a great community here. It really is. Now, don't get me wrong. There are always people. I mean, there are still racists, and there are still misogynists, and there are still people who hate. I mean, they don't understand you, then the hatred can come forward. And I don't know if you've been a recipient of any type of discrimination, to put it mildly. But that's true of ethnicities. That's true of people of color. Even though we appear to live in a very, very accepting time, it's a little frightening.
I can talk to somebody who's from all the way across the world in India, but if I don't ever establish that relationship, if I don't ever engage with that person, I'm not really going to have a chance to really know about what that person's like, what their thoughts are.
We really should welcome the opportunity to have conversations about difficult issues, because this is the place to do it. The university is the place to do it. Now, you want to be civil about that, but this is the place to have these conversations, because in some ways these conversations help you find yourself.
Barriers were broke down because we went into each other's homes to really see that, hey, there's not much difference from what your experience is than my experience.
You are obviously from somewhere that is so very different from where I'm from. However, there's common ground.
The fact that I get to help other people with my fusion of cultures on how to transition between the Latin American culture has been the most appealing thing, rewarding thing that SEMO has offered me.
One of my best friends, he's from Taiwan. And I just like to get to know other people. So maybe I feel like I'm bouncing in different spots, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's the ideal place to see yourself, to be a person who has many options and many places where you can belong and contribute and be accepted and earn people's attention and respect, rather than sort of saying, I would be afraid they would say no to me. I would be reluctant to insert myself in this opportunity. And you're not that kind of person.
Well, I don't think so.
Where does the confidence come from?
I just want to learn.
I'm happy to see and make a new friend today. So I will exchange emails.
I will be quiet now and just answer.
Don't be.
This is a small place that we're in. Cape Girardeau it's a small town. St. Louis is small. The state we're in is small. This world is small. Why am I just sticking in one part?